I am a huge Pokemon fan, and every game I play that tries to capture that wonder fails to keep my interest. Temtem, Ni no Kuni 2, Nexomon, these are all actually really good games, but they never made me feel like Pokemon was being challenged for that top pick of monster battlers. DragonQuest Monsters: The Dark Prince makes a new attempt at the title. Does it succeed, or does Pokemon continue to reign supreme still as the best monster collector/battler out there? Hello and welcome to Switch Scheme. Today we're taking a look at DragonQuest Monsters: The Dark Prince, taking a look at its story, gameplay, music and sounds, value, and overall impressions. If you enjoy the content, drop a like and sub. If you want information on the Switch Scheme monthly giveaway, check out the video in the description down below. The story of the Dark Prince has you playing as Sorrow, who is half human, half demon. His father, the Demon King, abandons his child and spouse to go off and do dastardly Demon King things. The village they reside in figures out who they are and banishes them out of fear. Sorrow, in his rage at their new circumstance, heads out to confront the Demon King. Once he meets him though, the Demon King makes a mockery of his own son, cursing him, unable to ever bring harm to a monster by his own hands again. By the luck of plot convenience though, Sorrow finds his way to a monster wrangler who teaches him how to wrangle monsters in order to battle these other monsters as they're not bound by his curse, with the ultimate goal to challenge his father. That's the story, and it works. I mean, at least there's a logical reason why the hero can't just stab everything, which I really enjoy. One of my biggest hiccups with Pokemon, and I don't condone violence against children, but I mean, come on, Team Rocket could have just punched your lights out when you waltzed into their hideout at the casino. The issue I have though is just how basic this storyline is. As you can imagine, his goal is to gather up monsters to, you guessed it, beat up his dad, the Demon King. It's nothing crazy, it boasts no mind-boggling twist, but it fits perfectly as a Dragon Quest story. Almost all Dragon Quest games see a hero beset by circumstance set out onto the world to take down some evil being. So in that respect, it fits right in. One fault though are just that all the side characters you meet along the way are all exhibits of one specific trait, and that defines the character through and through. You have the goofy one, the smart one, the quiet reserved one. It's almost as if they have a template and each section must be present. Again, in the context of Dragon Quest, it works fine. But after so many JRPGs, you start to notice the shallowness of each character. Overall, the story is okay. It's nothing great, it's nothing bad, it's serviceable for what you're getting into. The gameplay is turn-based classic RPG fare. Nothing really genre-bending or special here. You travel the world battling monsters, making them join you, training them through the usual grind, making them stronger, and learning new powers. One of the unique things though about the Dark Prince that I really enjoy is synthesizing. You can fuse monsters together to create new monsters. I think if my research is true, there are around 500 monsters to collect, which is a sizable amount, and if your goal is to catch them all, you'll be busy. The combat is where things nosedive in my opinion. It's too simplistic. There isn't much beyond use fire against the thing that looks like a plant, or use water against the thing that looks like it has fire. I just wish it was deeper. The combat honestly is one of the primary hooks of a monster battler like this, and when it is this basic, it runs out of steam rather quickly. The online battles are fine, but since there isn't an in-depth system like Pokemon, wherein if someone throws out a dragon, you're gonna toss out a fairy. Even if it's a lower level, you still might have a chance. Here in the Dark Prince, it comes down to luck and whose monster is stronger numerically. That's it. The visuals are good, and the character models are fine, and again, basic. But the standout are the monsters. They are unique in style from each creature to the next, which is always fun when you synthesize something new you haven't seen before. Some environments look great, others look like someone grabbed the trees from Pokemon and tried to sneak them in as a joke. The problem lies in the performance. The game has atrocious loading screens, and in some battles with lots of effects, the frames are gonna dip, or in some cases, freeze completely. I want to blame the Switch, I really do, but these are very cartoony graphics, and a game like Hogwarts Legacy, which I'm in the middle of playing on my Switch and my review is coming soon, which, mind you, is no way perfect, still runs better in my opinion thanks to the knowledgeable use of pop-ins, textures, and resolution. It has some stuttering in places like the Hogwarts Castle, for example, but for the most part, it's a playable experience. Dragon Quest: The Dark Prince, with these cartoony, unrealistic graphics using minimal details on the character models, shouldn't have this issue if it was properly optimized when other games manage just fine, at least in my opinion. I am not a game developer, so I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but for me as a player, when I see a game with more realistic, if you will, graphics run better on the Switch than something that looks like it came out of a Saturday morning cartoon, that has me concerned on the back end how it was created. All I can do is hope that the new Switch, whatever it's called, comes out quick, as these constant reminders of the Switch's age as more and more games get ported become overbearing. Now, I have always been a huge fan of the music and sound effects in Dragon Quest games. I will say, however, that I would like to see some evolution here. The game utilizes the exact same sound effects as any other Dragon Quest, which does nothing to make it unique on its own. I understand that that's the aesthetic thematic choice of the franchise, but honestly, I'm kind of over it. It's fine and services the game well enough, I just personally want more from the series. For example, take a look at the Final Fantasy series. The menu sound effect is so iconic that they still use it in some of the newer games, but the main theme song receives modern updates while the sound effects evolve. But you always know that it's a Final Fantasy game. I want to see that same evolution come from Dragon Quest. The game seems to clock in around 30 to 50 hours depending on what level of side quests and synthesized quests you choose to engage in. I know that number is broad, but through my research, no one seems to have a definitive time frame, and I'm still in the middle of my game but nearing the end. If you love Dragon Quest in theme, or just as the series as a whole, you'll definitely enjoy this 100%. For me, I'm enjoying it as well, it's just not my favorite game of the year, not even close. One thing I didn't mention in the gameplay section though that I want to mention here in value is that the game only has one save slot. Now I know this is common practice for monster collector games to avoid duping and stuff like that, but this game is so simple in presentation and combat that I don't see it the same way as I do say a Pokemon. I see it more as a traditional RPG with some elements that differ from standard party systems like Final Fantasy X. I want to replay the game with different teams or try different paths, and if I mess up, I want to go back and fix it, but I can't. So for me, this can hinder the value if you're an RPG player who likes to have multiple save slots trying to branch off from a central point to experience the gameplay differently. I would say the value is there, but I also want to advise watching some gameplay to see if the simplicity of it all appeals to you before you drop your cash on something that you hope is deeper or more thought-provoking. Overall, Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince is a fine game in the series. It boasts an almost too simple story, and the combat won't win any innovation awards, but the charming style of Dragon Quest is there and present if that's what you enjoy. If you want a monster collector that isn't Pokemon, I want to say that this isn't a bad choice, but I would advise waiting for it to go on sale. For me, The Dark Prince is a middle-of-the-pack example of why some complexity is necessary for a game to hook you in.